county. So the National Weather Service has issued a flood warning for the Cape Fear River. With the confidence increasing in potentially catastrophic flooding in the Sandhills and South Coastal Plain. Based on information from the National Weather Service, there's a high probability the banks of the Cape Fear River will overflow at a level higher than occurred during Hurricane Matthew. We have some confidence that that may occur Monday night. We'll need to watch this closely, to watch the track of the storm, how quickly it moves, how slowly it moves. And of course, we're very concerned about the amount of rain that may fall. We also have Nick Petro here with the National Weather Service. That'll give us some information about that, so I won't go too much into those details right now. Obviously, we've got a high level of concern about folks' safety along the Cape Fear River. And we're telling folks, if you live up to 1 mile of the Cape Fear River on either side of the bank, that you should consider voluntarily evacuating that area. There's also a high level of concern for safety in those in the vicinity of the Little River in the Manchester area near Spring Lake, and that you should also consider voluntarily evacuating. There is a high probability this will become a mandatory evacuation order within the next 24 hours, with the goal of residents being out of these possible flood areas by Saturday night. We want to give us, our responders and the citizens as much time as possible, but again, it is a changing dynamic situation, and we want to be as cautious as possible. So we are refining the areas concerned now based on the National Weather Service forecast, and we'll issue information more specifically as far as specific neighborhoods. And I do believe that the City of Fayetteville representative will have some information about that with locations of specific neighborhoods that they've identified. So that'll come from Scott Bullard in just a few minutes. Residents should monitor the news media, social media, and government websites for further direction from emergency management. Just to cover what we've already talked about previously, but just to update some numbers when it comes to shelters. Again, our shelters are Kiwanis Recreation Center. It has a capacity for 100 shelterees, and the current population as of 10:50 a.m. today was 55. Mac Williams Middle School has a capacity of 105, and the current population is 95. Pine Forest High School has a capacity for 225, current population of 92. 71st High School, capacity for 295 with a population of 82. Smith Recreation Center, capacity of 100, current population of 62. Southview High School, capacity for 310 with a current population of 154. W.T. Brown Elementary School, capacity for 90 and a current population of 21. So we're looking at a total capacity of 1,225, but the actual current population as of, again, 10:50 this morning is 561 people. Please know that there may be limited number of cots at some shelters, and residents should take sleeping bags, blankets, mats, and/or cots if you're planning to relocate to a shelter. FAST will continue to provide transportation. We will notify everyone if that should change due to the weather conditions. You can anticipate that at some point that could change, but we will announce that and we'll put that out. But until then, they will offer service if that is needed to transport to a shelter. And again, you can call the non-emergency number that's listed here at 910-678-7657. Again, that's 910-678-7657. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Nick Petro so he can give us an update on the weather and the hurricane.
Thank you. Hurricane Florence has been a devastating storm so far. We've seen major storm surge, inundation at the coast, devastating storm surge, damaging winds, flooding right along the coast and across the rivers in eastern North Carolina. The storm has now made landfall and is gradually moving west and southwest across the Cape Fear region. It's moving very slowly, and that creates a problem, a particular problem with slow-moving heavy rain bands. There are several bands of heavy rain on the north side of Florence, and as that storm just gradually shifts westward with time through the next 24 to 48 hours and even longer, those bands will continue to rotate across the area. So we're looking for, just quite frankly, a lot of rain, devastating rainfall amounts, and flooding that will result as of that rainfall. We're expecting rainfall amounts here in the Fayetteville area of 15, perhaps up to 20 inches of rain. And that'll be the case across the entire region, across much of southeastern North Carolina, southern North Carolina, all the way over to the southern portions of the coastal plain, or of the Piedmont region. So all that rain has to go somewhere. It's going to flow into the rivers. It's going to result in river flooding. And we're working very closely with our partners, with our colleagues at the Southeast River Forecast Center, who have experts to model this rainfall runoff and the resultant flooding. And we've been working with them through the night and over the past few days. And overnight and this morning, in consultation with again, our colleagues at the Southeast River Forecast Center, we put out a forecast for the Cape Fear River at Fayetteville to crest at levels several feet above what we experienced with Hurricane Matthew. So, you know, there is a possibility it could get a little bit higher. Right now, we're predicting the river to crest late Monday at a little bit over 62 feet. And, you know, beyond that, it's just all about the rain, how much additional rainfall comes. So the more rain that comes and the slower this moves, it could even go higher. So our confidence is increasing now that the storm has made landfall and it's gradually moving west, that those predictions of river flooding will come to pass. So, you know, we encourage everyone to take this seriously. Although the storm obviously is in a weakening mode, that doesn't mean the rainfall will lessen. The winds may be weakening, but the rain has just begun across portions of central North Carolina. So don't let your guard down. And even before the rivers begin to experience flooding, there can be flash flooding as well. And I want to emphasize to people that most flood deaths occur in automobiles. And if there's one point I can stress, is that never drive through areas where water covers the road. That's where most flash flood fatalities and flooding fatalities of all kinds occur. So don't drive into it. Turn around, don't drown is our saying. Okay, so if you're driving, you come across a flooded road, turn around. Okay, and all that, again, it's a slow-moving storm. We don't want to let our guard down. The storm we've got many more days of heavy rain, and that heavy rain will ultimately result in river flooding here in Fayetteville and other rivers across central and eastern North Carolina. So, so with that, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Nick. Now we have an update from Scott Bullard with the City of Fayetteville's Fire Department Emergency Management Section.
Thank you. My purpose is kind of simple today. I bring to you a list of about 75 or so subdivisions within the city that are not necessarily limited to river flooding, but in some fashion or form had flooding impacts 2 years ago with Matthew. The list is not exhaustive, it's not comprehensive and all-inclusive, but it will be offered for publication. We will publish it by Facebook and social media, and it will be offered to the media here to put out. So I'm not going to sit up here and read every individual place. However, the takeaway is these subdivisions in some form have proven historically to have problems. That needs to be heeded, just like Mr. Petro admonished everybody about treating this with the due respect and regard that it deserves. There should be no delay in taking protective actions if you can. Let's be commonsensical about this. If you're next to the river, you need to take some action. You need to move away from it. As time goes by, we'll refine some of these places. We may expand them. You'll have to stay tuned to the messages that we put out, and hopefully the forecast that we're using for a planning horizon will get a little bit sharper. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Our next speaker is Sheriff Enos Wright, and he's got some information from the Sheriff's Office, Cumberland County.
Good afternoon. I want to assure the citizens of Cumberland that the Sheriff's Office, we have double the amount of folks that we normally have on the roadway. But I still encourage you, if you're not in that low-lying area and you don't have to leave your house, stay indoors. We're getting calls reference single vehicle accidents because of the wind, the gust of wind when these folks are out on these roads. So if you don't have to be on the road, if you don't have to evacuate, stay at home. It helps the first responders where they don't have to go to that call where you're involved in an accident. Also, if you have to leave and you don't have transportation, you can call the sheriff's office and we can see if we get you to these shelters. So just remember that. There's more deputies working the road than normal out here on this roadway. Also, curfew. Adhere to the curfew. Last night we arrested some folks out there breaking into businesses. Okay, that is why we have the curfew. So if you don't have to be out there, do not be out there. Okay, again, feel safe and assured that the sheriff's office is out there. If you need a ride to one of these shelters, just call us at 323-1500 and we'll get you to one of these shelters. Again, stay off the road if you don't have to be there.
Thank you, Sheriff Wright. Next, we have Police Chief Gina Hawkins from the City of Fayetteville.
Thank you. I just want to share a couple of things. Since we've been out and since we've been responding to calls, a lot of the calls that we've been responding to have been dealing with down trees. The wind have had power outage. So know that if you're out and about, you may take the risk of being struck by something, a projectile item. That's why we want you to stay in and inside the house. With that said, today we'll start the city having its curfew from sundown to sun up every day. We want everyone during the daylight to take care of what you need to take care of in order to get to high grounds or to get away from the riverbed. To get a mile, the distance is a mile away from the river. The probability, if you have to evacuate, please do so now. We're here, continue to call in for assistance, but we want to make sure that you know in the evening when there's dark, we can't see you. It's difficult to respond. We want you safe. We want you to have assistance during the daylight hours, okay?
Thank you, Chief Hawkins. And finally, Major Freddie Johnson, Jr. from the State Highway Patrol.
Thank you. We just want to say that the Highway Patrol has deployed resources statewide. We're ready to go. Every member of the patrol is on alert. We're coordinating with the State Emergency Operations Center to assist the communities across the states, particularly in the southeast. The storm's not over. I do want to say that we've seen a little bit of traffic pickup. It's still dangerous out there. We need people off the road. I can't overemphasize enough what Mr. Petro said about Hurricane Matthew in 2016. We had over 30 people killed in accidents in North Carolina. The majority of those deaths were where folks drove around barricades and drove into flooded waters and perished. So I cannot emphasize enough, please stay off the road. If it's not an emergency, don't get out there. We're continuing to coordinate, again, like I said, with all our safety partners across the state and make sure that they get the help they need. Thank you.
Okay, so with that, we'll open up for questions. And if you have specific questions for anybody behind me, a particular agency, please indicate that with the question that you have. So open the floor. Yes, sir.
There are probably, as we head into the weekend, a lot of businesses that are getting anxious to open back up again. Are you encouraging them to remain closed? I think I saw Waffle House that's open and a couple of gas stations, but I'm sure that a lot of other businesses would like to open up. What do you say to them?
Well, obviously, curfews are in place. So when curfews are in place, we're worried about safety. We've got tropical storm winds. We've got the potential for flooding. Right now, until this storm passes, it's all about safety. It's not just about the citizen safety, but it's also about responder safety. So I can say that. I don't know if there's anybody else that would like to add to that. So that's the primary reason. But as far as staying open or not opening, that's an individual business owner's decision. So that'd be tough for me to say what you should or shouldn't do in that case. You have to use your own discretion, but keep in mind that there are curfews in place. So, but thank you for your question.
For comparison purposes, and this may have been mentioned yesterday, can you list the levels of the Cape Fear River during Hurricane
Right, so major flooding back in 2016 for us, and I think many folks saw this, where the river rose to just below the bridge at Person Street, and of course the railroad trestle was 58 foot when it crested. Okay, so we're talking somewhere in the neighborhood of 62 feet potentially, which is of course higher than the 58 foot. And a lot of that will depend on the rain and the amount that falls within the next potentially 72 hours.
There are some people who probably live within that 1 mile of the river, but they don't see the river on a daily basis.
Right.
They know it's somewhere over there. How do those folks determine whether or not they're in the zone? What's their best practice?
So for them, we'll try to get information out. This is a preliminary effort for us with your cooperation and your assistance to get the word out to folks, to let them know if they have any questions. Of course, they can call our non-emergency number. But if they're within that mile, we'll do our best to help them identify their location based on their address. Of course, the city of Fayetteville has already identified a number of different neighborhoods. So I think we're ready to help folks that may have questions. Most people probably know and understand, if they've lived near the river for any length of time, how close they are. And if they don't, just call us and we'll try to help them through that decision-making process. Okay. Other questions?
Our next question is for the sheriff. How many arrests did we have last night during the curfew, and then how many accidents have we had?
I think it was 2 subjects that were arrested last night. 1050s, single car 1050s, I think we only had about, 3 or 4 right now.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. If not, I'll turn over the mic to Kevin Rada with the city of Fayetteville.
Just the usual reminder again that I encourage you to send everybody to our website, so the county website, co.cumberland.us and nc.us, and then Fayetteville, nc.gov, Cumberland Alert sign up and city app, and we are doing push notifications there. And then finally, we have a lot of elected officials here today from both the city and the county, so I'd encourage you from the media side to go back and talk with them as well, because I'm sure they have some thoughts on what's going on right now and what we can do to help keep our residents safe. So thank you. We don't anticipate any more press conferences today. We'll see what happens with what tomorrow brings, but we'll certainly keep you notified. Thank you.